Hey, what's up, guys? It's Kyle with another mix tip tutorial. Kyle at InPhase Studios. Today, I want to go over how to get a rap vocal to sit in a mix, because I know a lot of people struggle with two things. One of them I'm not going to address today, but it's low end and vocals. And vocals, that's your leading, your leading point. If you got a great song instrument wise and a bad vocal, the song's not going to be good. It's just not. Now, if you have an okay instrument section of a song and a great vocal, it's going to be pretty good. The vocal is up front. Everybody listens to the vocal, so people, well, how do we get it to be up front in the mix without taking over everything else? Or I can't hear it, but I don't want to make it too loud. So I'm going to go over some of those things, but I do want to go over what I think are the three most important tools you have when you're mixing. Your first most important tool is your ears, guys. I can't stress that enough. Everybody has their own opinion on what sounds good, and that's okay. You think this sounds good, the next guy thinks there should be a 3 dB bump at 10K on that vocal. Maybe you don't, but that's the cool thing about mixing, is because everybody's different. Everybody's going to have a different mix. You can have 4 mixes that are all good, all great, and they're all different. So a lot of people get hung up on using reference tracks and trying to, oh man, it just doesn't sound just like that. Or, when you use a reference track, you're looking for things like the low end. Does it have that same low end presence? Does it have that same high end presence? Is mine have too much high end presence? Things like that. A lot of people get caught up in, oh, my guitar doesn't have the same tone, it doesn't have this, or this bass drum or bass guitar tone is way more distorted than mine, and maybe you do want to get it just like theirs, but sit back, maybe take a break, just listen to what you have, and use your reference tracks accordingly. Don't try to copy exactly what they've done. So the next two tools, in my opinion, and for the most part the only two you really need, is EQ and compression. And in this video, for the rap vocal, I'm going to go over a little EQ, little compression, a little bit of saturation, and then I'll show you a couple other things that I do just to kind of fill it out. Now this rap vocal is not complete. It's just a lead and one double. On this song I'm going to probably do 2 or 3 or 4 dub tracks for the vocal, and probably another double track, so I can have like stereo doubles. So I'll go over that and on the bus for the vocals, and then the reverb for the vocal. Alright, so I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play this with no processing on the vocals, and then we'll go from there.
Down.
Alright, so, and I'm not going to touch the volume. If you can see right here, these green tracks, these are my vocal tracks. I have the main track at unity, and I have the double track at negative 1.3 decibel. And the main reason why I can do that is because I try to track between negative 6 and negative 12 dB, because for me that's the sweet spot, and should be for a lot of you. Some of you guys track way so hot, up around 0 decibels, and then you're pulling faders down or putting in a trim tool and trimming that down, and then just to keep your faders at unity, and then when you're automating, things get a little hairy, so or you record too quiet. When I was first starting out, man, I'm like, what's going on? And I'd be like way down here, and then once I got the volume up in the mix, there's a huge noise floor. So really try to get that around negative 6, negative 12 in that window. For me, that's the ideal spot. All right. So yeah, I'm not going to touch these faders. If I ever did, you can see over here in the instrument section, I have it. Depends on the song. If I'm doing a band, like a rock band, metal band, whatever, just to keep things nice, I will PreSonus. They have a lot of good plugins that they make, and if you see right here is this mix tool, and I'll just throw it on here really quick. So what that does is you can adjust the volume of the track like that, invert phase, and you can also write. This is why I like it a lot for automating, is you can edit the gain control. So when you do that, you're just automating that plugin, and the fader still never moves, which is quite nice. Keeps things clean. So, all right. So moving on to the vocal. So let's listen to just the vocal. Let me turn off this reverb here.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose. But you can't knock me down, I'll keep on standing tall. Gotta start somewhere, you can't walk until you learn to crawl.
Cool. So that double, by the way, I just have pan to the right, about 25%. And then the second double would be this pan left, 25%. So first, I was like, I need this vocal to have some rasp. So let's just look at this main vocal here, and I'll kick on that saturation knob. By the way, this is free by Softube. It's great.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be.
Now, they say when the red light kicks on that's when saturation is when it's like, going off when it's happening. That's, for me, not true. I'll show you what I mean.
You got a lot of views.
That was on.
You got a lot of views.
That was off. So just a little smoother, but let me show you what happens when that red light starts going off.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose. But you.
Now that could sound cool depending on the song or the place in a song, but I just want a little bit.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose. But you can't knock me down, I'll keep.
So it's just barely touching it, nothing major. So I'm gonna save, on this vocal channel, I'm gonna save this EQ for last, because that's kind of like the final touch. I'm gonna move over here to my vocal bus. All right. So what's happening on the vocal bus? Let's see. We have first the Pro Q. So look at that. Let's see what's going on here.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose. But you can't knock me down, I'll keep on standing tall. Gotta start somewhere, you can't walk until you learn to crawl. You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes.
Alright, so off, verse on. So you can hear a nice cleanup in that low end right away.
You got a lot of views.
Here's on.
You got a lot of views.
Alright, because we don't need all that. We don't need any of this information. It's just going to clog everything up. I did a little boost at 280 just to kind of fill in some low end that I did want. And I cut around 1,000, 1K, and a big boost at about 2. And by the way, I have a gentle slope across 5. And for me, I find a lot of vocals, the presence pops out really well around 2K and around 5. I don't always do 5, but this time I liked it. And here I'm doing some subtractive EQ. Let's listen to these. This is always fun.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose, but you can't knock me down. Gotta start somewhere, you can't walk until you learn to crawl. You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose, but you can't knock me down. I'll keep on standing tall. Gotta start somewhere, you can't walk until you learn to crawl.
Well, I guarantee it sounds terrible. And then I did a boost here.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes.
It's actually a 6.8, 6.9. Pretty big boost there, but I wanted that. So let's listen to that in the mix.
Got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, you wanna see me lose, but you can't knock me down. I'll keep on standing tall. Gotta start somewhere, you can't walk until you.
So I want you guys to realize what just happened. You can't really hear it with the EQ off, and granted, it's not to the level we want yet with it on. But do you see how it pokes out, how it jumps forward just with that EQ? I'll show you one more time, off and then on.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, you wanna see me lose.
On.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, you wanna see me lose.
So I think that's just phenomenal. All right. So that was my point, guys. Your ears and the EQ and compression, which we'll get to, is key. All the extra stuff is all just frills. Yeah, some things help. Sometimes you kill a mix by adding goofy stuff. I've seen a lot of people mix with just EQ and compression, 98% of the mix. So with talking about compression, let's check this out.
Got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose, but you can't knock me down. I'll keep on standing tall. Gotta start somewhere, you can't walk until you learn to crawl.
Alright, so what's happening here? Well, I'm hitting it pretty hard. I'm hitting it at about -7 on gain reduction. I have pretty slow attack. Or fast attack, granted, or slow attack, because I don't want to dull that bite. I just want to just kind of hit it, and I have the release set pretty low because it's a pretty the recording is kind of dynamic, and I wanted it to kind of hang around and continue to compress in between things. I always turn off analog on everything, and I just like the bluey version a lot more than the black. So let's check this out.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose, but
you see in between each run, it generally only drops down to about -1, so it's always kind of doing a little bit, and that way too you don't get any pumping. If I had a super fast release, you might start to get some pumping, let's see.
you got a lot of views,
I'm sorry.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose.
quite audible yet, but it does happen, believe me. So, and then just a 4-to-1 ratio. That's generally what I do for mostly anything. Generally. All right. So, all the frilly stuff. I added a crystallizer as it's working as a doubler, and I'll show you another saturator I added. But for now,
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose, but you can't knock me.
alright, so here's that doubler.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose, but you can't knock me down, I'll keep on standing tall.
So it's so subtle. I have this dry setting, dry and wet knob, mix knob. I have it just barely, and it just thickens up the vocal enough. I didn't want to do too much. This was just like something I found that just worked great, and that's all I needed. So, and let's check out this Decapitator saturation plugin.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose, but you can't knock me down, I'll keep on.
So it has a little drive, I would call it, and some extra clarity. And on here, I have the low cut a little bit, the tone toward the bright side, about, 1 o'clock, and then the high cut. And I actually, in this mix knob too, I only have this maybe, 10-15% up. and that was all I needed. I mean, here's...
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose, but you can't knock me down, I'll keep on standing tall.
Alright, so let's listen to this in the mix again.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose, but you can't knock me down, I'll keep on standing tall.
Alright, cool. So now, we have a multi-band compressor, the C6. I use it pretty often on a lot of things, and there's a lot of cool tricks you can do with this, especially when it gets into side chaining. Snare drums to overheads, side chaining that, so it'll duck the harsh cymbals out a little bit and let that snare come through, different things like that. Even side chaining to the master bus or the 2-bus vocals or bass, and you can side chain it to different frequencies, and those are those little extra things, especially that the pros do, that they don't really tell you about all the time, because they don't want to steal their job. I'm just teasing, by the way. So that's that. Let's see what we're doing here.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be.
And yes, by the way, I did choose the pop vocal preset, and that is because it works really well. And I just tweak a couple parameters, and I'm usually pretty happy. So you can hear right away the presence that it brings.
You got a lot of views, I got on.
So it was off.
You got a lot of views.
It's kind of muddy, kind of buried still.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes.
And yeah, so we're doing good. Now, the thing about this is, if you look at these 4 bands, is the gain is boosted, and then the range, that's how far down it'll compress it, is set down considerably. And then we got the threshold down, if you watch.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes.
Besides this orange guy here, the threshold's, it's pretty low, oranges on the low end.
You got a lot of views. You got a lot of views.
These other 3, they're getting, squished a little bit. But with that gain being up, that it is like gain if it was left at 0, it would just compress it, and it wouldn't do anything else. So with that there, you can hear it. What it's doing is it's taming those high end, and then it boosts it at the same time. So it's not upward compression, but it's it's taking something that's not so good, making it sound better, and then bringing up the level, which is essentially what a compressor does. But the multi-brand compressors work a little differently because you can choose a frequency. So
You got a lot of
all right, and then lastly is this Fairchild. I actually don't use this compressor hardly ever, but I seen a couple people, YouTube channel guys that I follow, mutual friends, and once in a while I'll see someone use these, and I mean the hardware is, you can't deny those, but I never really found any good use for it. I just didn't like the layout either. But this time I took the time to kind of mess with it, and so these are linked, by the way, and I liked what I got. So everything I do here happens down here. That just doesn't show it. So
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose, but you can't knock me down, I'll keep on standing tall. Gotta start somewhere, you can't walk until you learn to crawl. You got a lot of views, you got a lot of views, you got a lot of views.
this off.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes.
This is on.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes.
So it adds some nice airiness. Again, we're just working toward that, little by little, getting this thing up to volume, getting, the right mix. The mix is also helping with the volume, not just boosting the volume. In fact, one or two of these plugins, I actually turn the output down so that I'm not affecting the volume. It's just affecting the sound. Okay, so I was sitting there, and I'll get to the reverb in a second, and I'm like, I'll play it. I'm like,
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose, but you can't knock me down, I'll keep on standing tall.
and I was like, man, this will sound good, but let me get into this reverb really quick. So, Valhalla Vintage Verb.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose, but you can't knock me down, I'll keep on.
So it's pretty cool. It's like a delayed reverb. So this is a pretty cool trick. Now there's two ways to achieve this, but you see this pre-delay. Wow, that's so long before the delay kicks in. Well, it's a pretty nice trick. It's a lot easier than how I used to do it, because sometimes when you do a vocal, you don't want the reverb to just be there immediately. Sometimes you want the vocal to cut and then the reverb comes in. All right, especially on if it's someone that's like singing, and it's and maybe it's a busy mix. You want that voice to really punch through. So what's happening is the dry vocal comes through, and then the reverb is delayed. Now, how did I do this before? I would take the vocal and I would sidechain it to a compressor on a reverb bus, and what would happen was it would duck the reverb on that attack portion of the vocal. And it's a really cool trick. Maybe sometimes I might use it for a little more accuracy, but lately this has been doing the trick. This has been like, wow, this is just perfect. So I think it's a Chris Lord-Alge trick, I think.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose, but you can't knock me down, I'll keep on standing tall.
Now, because it keeps echoing back and forth, it might be hard to hear, but it does make a difference in the mix. It does. Okay. And then I also, a little less, I put on the...
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes.
Alright, so what does it sound like in the mix?
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes.
One thing to remember about reverb is that it will push things back in the mix. Okay. So let me play this one more time. I'll do reverb off, reverb on.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose.
It's off.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose. But you can't knock me down, I'll keep on standing tall. Gotta stop.
And I wanted to solo that because I wanted you guys to see that just the thing about reverb is you want to hear it, but you don't want to hear it, you know, unless it's a part that it calls for something like that. But it sometimes I'll hear stuff, and I've said this before in previous videos, is people put reverb on stuff and it's obnoxious. It's just you know, it's just way too much. Like, what are we doing here? All right, so all right, so I listened to this for a couple days. It's not done. I just was being stupid and just wanted to hear it. I even had it in my car, and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute." It still wasn't doing it for me. The volume, I don't know. So, and this was kind of what made me want to do this video. What I did, and this is so simple. It's just like, come on. I was like, well, let me EQ this one more time and see what I can do with this vocal, because it doesn't need much. It just needs something a little extra. So let me solo this again. So this is what I did. I took this 550 equalizer. The first thing I did was I did another big dB cut, low filter, which is basically a high shelf or a high pass filter at 100. Now you might have noticed and be like, "Hey, you already did that." I know, but these EQs have different curves. I did a low cut on the Pro Q, and especially these ones where you can't see it. It's not a graph. You can't see the curves. Each one of these has its own specific curve, so that's specific to that plugin, and I did it and I heard a difference and I liked it. So the other thing that I did was I kind of hunted around on this low pass filter, high filter, they call it high filter. Excuse me. And I found that I really liked the 4 dB boost at 12.5K. And again, analog's off. So let me show you.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes.
Here's on.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes.
Now, that's what I was looking for. That's what I was like, okay. And when you hear it in the mix, because you should never really mix in solo.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose. But you can't knock me down, I'll keep on standing tall. Gotta start somewhere, you can't walk until you learn to crawl.
Alright, now this might be something I play around with a little more. I might.
You got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose. But you can't knock me down, I'll keep on standing tall. Gotta start somewhere, you can't walk until you.
You know, I might play around with that and be like, maybe I like 2 better. Maybe I need to listen to it on a different source to see how it sounds. And then I just simply copied this to the double track. So we are left with,
you got a lot of views, I got on different shoes. You might be confused, cause you wanna see me lose, but you can't knock me down, I'll keep on standing tall. Gotta start somewhere, you can't walk until you learn to crawl. You can
okay, so that concludes today's mix tip. I hope everyone had a fun time and learned something. Again, guys, sometimes it's just simple EQ, compression, and using your ears. All right? Because it's not the gear, it's the ear. Always remember that. All right, this was Kyle with In Face Studio. You guys have a great day.